Mystical isolation. When spiritual awakening calls you into the shadows, there exists a sacred silence that descends upon those who have been chosen by forces beyond the veil of ordinary consciousness. If you find yourself reading these words, isolated from the world you once knew, separated from friends and family who no longer understand the frequency you now vibrate upon, then you have been marked by something ancient and profound. This is not abandonment. This is not punishment. This is the universe itself orchestrating your transformation through the mysterious alchemy of solitude. Tonight, we pierce through the shadows to reveal the hidden truth behind your isolation, the mystical purpose that lies dormant within your seeming disconnection from the world. What you are experiencing is not a curse, but a calling. What feels like loneliness is actually the universe preparing you for something extraordinary. The cosmic orchestration of solitude. Deep within the cosmic tapestry of existence, there are threads that weave patterns invisible to the untrained eye. Your current isolation is not a random occurrence, nor is it a reflection of some fundamental flaw within your being. Instead, it represents a carefully orchestrated phase in your spiritual evolution, a deliberate pause pressed by cosmic intelligence itself upon the symphony of your life. This phenomenon manifests when your consciousness begins to vibrate at frequencies that transcend the ordinary human experience. As your spiritual awakening intensifies, you become like a radio suddenly tuned to a different station, one that broadcasts wisdom from realms beyond the physical plane. The static you once called normal social interaction now feels discordant, jarring against the celestial harmony you have begun to perceive. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, recognizes that transformation requires a sacred space, a mystical cocoon where the old self can dissolve and the new self can emerge. This is why you find yourself drawn away from the familiar voices and faces that once defined your reality. It is not rejection you are experiencing, but redirection toward a higher purpose that demands your complete and undivided attention. Consider how a caterpillar must enter the darkness of its chrysalis, completely isolated from the world it once crawled upon in order to undergo the miraculous metamorphosis that will grant it wings. Your isolation serves the same sacred purpose, creating the perfect conditions for your consciousness to undergo its own profound transformation. The awakening of supernatural sensitivity. As you traverse deeper into this mystical journey, you begin to notice that your senses have undergone a supernatural enhancement. This is not merely improved intuition, but a complete recalibration of your perceptual apparatus, as if ancient dormant abilities have suddenly awakened from their slumber. Your consciousness has been upgraded to receive transmissions from dimensions that exist beyond the reach of ordinary human awareness. This heightened sensitivity extends far beyond the 5 traditional senses. You become acutely aware of the energetic signatures that surround every person, place, and situation. Walking into a room, you can immediately sense the emotional residue left by previous occupants. Standing near certain individuals, you feel their unprocessed trauma, their hidden intentions, their spiritual development or lack thereof, as clearly as if these invisible qualities were written in glowing letters above their heads. The electromagnetic fields generated by modern technology begin to feel like sandpaper against your newly sensitized energy body. Fluorescent lights buzz with an intensity that seems to penetrate your very soul. Crowded spaces become overwhelming not because of the noise, but because of the cacophony of unharmonized energies that crash against your expanded awareness like waves against a sensitive shore. This supernatural sensitivity also manifests in your relationship with time and space. You may find yourself knowing things before they happen, sensing the emotional states of loved ones from great distances, or receiving guidance through synchronicities that appear with mathematical precision. These are not coincidences, but confirmations that you have begun to operate on a level of consciousness that transcends the limitations of linear reality. The alchemical transformation of desires. Perhaps one of the most mysterious aspects of this awakening process is how your fundamental desires begin to undergo an alchemical transformation. Foods that once brought comfort now feel dense and energetically incompatible with your evolving vibration. That morning coffee ritual, once a sacred ceremony of awakening, now sends shock waves through your hypersensitive nervous system, leaving you feeling scattered rather than centered. Your body, now operating as a finely tuned instrument of consciousness, begins to reject anything that lowers its vibrational frequency. Processed foods laden with chemicals and preservatives feel like poison to your system. Heavy meats and dairy products create a density in your energy field that feels incompatible with the lightness you are cultivating. This is not a mental decision, but an instinctive knowing that emerges from the wisdom of your awakened cellular consciousness. Even your entertainment preferences undergo this mysterious transformation. Movies filled with violence and drama, music with discordant frequencies, and conversations centered on gossip and complaint begin to feel energetically draining. Your consciousness, now attuned to higher frequencies, naturally gravitates toward content that elevates rather than depletes your spiritual energy. This transformation extends to your sleep patterns, your need for silence, and even your relationship with nature. You may find yourself drawn to spend hours in natural settings, not for recreation, but for the energetic restoration that only untouched landscapes can provide. Trees become teachers, rivers become healers, and the night sky becomes a portal to infinite wisdom. The mystical symptoms of expanded awareness. As your consciousness expands beyond its previous limitations, your physical vessel begins to exhibit phenomena that would have seemed impossible in your former state of awareness. Your vision may begin to perceive subtle lights, auras, or energy fields that remain invisible to those still operating from ordinary consciousness. These are not hallucinations, but glimpses into the electromagnetic reality that underlies all physical existence. Your auditory perception becomes supernaturally acute, picking up on frequencies that exist in the spaces between sounds. The ringing in your ears is not tinnitus, but your nervous system learning to interpret the cosmic frequencies that constantly surround us. Some describe this as hearing the music of the spheres, the fundamental vibration that holds all creation in harmonious balance. Your skin becomes hypersensitive to energy, allowing you to feel the emotional states of others as if they were your own. Standing near someone experiencing anxiety, you might feel their nervousness as a physical sensation. Being in the presence of someone radiating love fills you with an almost overwhelming sense of warmth and connection. This empathic expansion is both a gift and a challenge, requiring you to learn new boundaries to protect your energetic sovereignty. Sleep becomes a mystical journey rather than mere rest. Your dreams intensify, becoming vivid journeys through symbolic landscapes that carry profound messages about your spiritual development. You may experience astral projection, lucid dreaming, or receive direct guidance from spiritual teachers who appear in your dream state. Upon waking, the boundary between dream and reality becomes mysteriously fluid, the sacred burden of evolved consciousness. With this expanded awareness comes a sacred burden that few can understand. You begin to see through the illusions that keep most of humanity trapped in cycles of unconscious behavior. The drama that once seemed compelling now appears as elaborate distractions from authentic spiritual growth. Conversations about material acquisitions, celebrity gossip, and political theater feel hollow, like echoes in an empty chamber. This clarity brings with it a profound loneliness, for you realize that the majority of people around you are still asleep to the deeper realities you have begun to perceive. Their concerns, while valid within their current level of consciousness, seem trivial compared to the cosmic mysteries that now occupy your awareness. This is not arrogance, but the natural result of having glimpsed the infinite nature of existence. You may find yourself unable to participate in the collective unconsciousness that defines much of human social interaction. Small talk becomes painful, gossip feels toxic, and the constant complaints about circumstances feel like energetic quicksand that threatens to pull you back into lower vibrational states. This inability to engage with unconscious behavior is not a social deficiency, but a sign of your evolving spiritual maturity. The weight of this expanded awareness can feel overwhelming at times. You see the pain that people create for themselves through their unconscious choices, yet you understand that each soul must walk its own path toward awakening. This recognition of free will and individual spiritual timing requires you to develop a deep compassion while maintaining healthy energetic boundaries. The mystical purpose behind divine isolation. What appears as isolation from the external perspective reveals itself as divine communion when viewed through the lens of expanded consciousness. This sacred solitude creates the perfect conditions for you to commune with aspects of yourself that have been dormant for lifetimes. In the silence, you begin to hear the whispers of your soul, the guidance of your higher self, and the cosmic intelligence that orchestrates all existence. This period of withdrawal allows you to develop a direct relationship with the source of all wisdom, unfiltered by the opinions and energies of others. Prayer becomes conversation, meditation becomes exploration, and introspection becomes a journey through the infinite landscapes of consciousness. You discover that you are never truly alone, for within the depths of your being resides a connection to the universal mind that contains all knowledge and love. The isolation also serves to strengthen your spiritual muscles, teaching you to find fulfillment and guidance from internal rather than external sources. This self-reliance is not about becoming antisocial, but about developing the spiritual maturity to engage with the world from a place of fullness rather than neediness. When you eventually re-emerge from this cocoon phase, you will do so as a beacon of light rather than someone seeking validation or energy from others. During this sacred time, you may receive downloads of information, sudden insights about the nature of reality, or guidance about your life purpose that comes through meditation, dreams, or spontaneous moments of clarity. This direct transmission of wisdom is only possible when the usual static of social interaction has been temporarily silenced, allowing you to tune into the cosmic broadcast with crystal clarity. The ancient wisdom of solitary seekers. Throughout history, every great spiritual teacher and mystic has undergone periods of profound isolation as part of their awakening process. Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness. Buddha meditated alone under the Bodhi tree, and countless shamans and wise ones have retreated into caves, forests, and mountain peaks to commune with the deeper mysteries of existence. Your current isolation places you in this ancient lineage of solitary seekers. This withdrawal from worldly concerns allows for a purification process that cannot occur while constantly engaged in the energetic exchanges of daily social life. Like a crystal that must be cleansed in sacred waters to regain its clarity, your consciousness requires this period of energetic cleansing to fully embody the higher frequencies you are being called to anchor. The mystics of old understood that true wisdom emerges not from books or teachers, although these have their place, but from direct communion with the divine intelligence that permeates all existence. This communion requires silence, stillness, and separation from the constant chatter of unconscious minds. Your isolation is providing you with the same sacred opportunity that has been granted to awakening souls throughout the ages. In the sacred texts of many traditions, we find references to the wilderness experience, the dark night of the soul, and the hermit's journey. These are not metaphors but literal descriptions of the psychological and spiritual territory you are now traversing. You are walking the same path that has led countless others to profound realizations about the nature of existence and their role within the cosmic order, navigating the energetic minefield of modern society. As your sensitivity expands, you begin to perceive the modern world as an energetic minefield where unconscious thoughts, repressed emotions, and lower vibrational frequencies create a toxic atmosphere that can overwhelm your newly calibrated system. Shopping malls become overwhelming not because of the crowds, but because of the concentrated desperation and unconscious consumption that permeates these spaces. Social media, once a source of connection, now feels like drinking from a fire hose of emotional chaos. The constant stream of complaints, arguments, and superficial interactions creates an energetic static that interferes with your ability to maintain the higher states of consciousness you are cultivating. This is why you find yourself naturally withdrawing from these platforms, not out of antisocial tendencies, but out of spiritual self-preservation. Even well-meaning friends and family members can become energetically draining when they consistently operate from fear, drama, or unconscious patterns. Their conversations, while meaningful to them, may feel like attempts to pull you back into lower vibrational states that you have outgrown. This creates a complex emotional terrain where love for these individuals must be balanced with protection of your evolving consciousness. The key to navigating this challenging period lies in understanding that you are not rejecting people, but rather the unconscious energies they carry. With time and practice, you will learn to maintain your elevated state while compassionately engaging with others, becoming a healing presence rather than someone who must retreat to maintain their spiritual equilibrium. The alchemy of solitary transformation. Within the sacred container of solitude, a mysterious alchemy takes place that transforms the base metal of ordinary consciousness into the gold of spiritual awareness. This process cannot be rushed, cannot be forced, and cannot be replicated through any external means. It requires the patient cultivation of inner stillness, the courage to face the shadows within yourself, and the faith to trust in a process that often defies logical understanding. During this alchemical transformation, you may experience periods of intense emotional release as old patterns and traumas surface to be healed and integrated. The isolation provides a safe space for this healing work to occur without the interference of external judgments or the need to maintain social facades. You can feel your feelings fully, cry when you need to cry, and process the accumulated wounds of your soul without having to explain or justify your experience to others. This inner work often involves a dismantling of the false identity you, constructed to navigate the world of unconscious social interaction. The persona you wore to fit in, to be accepted, to avoid conflict, begins to dissolve, revealing the authentic essence that has been waiting beneath these protective layers. This death of the false self can feel disorienting and frightening, but it is necessary for the birth of your true spiritual identity. As this transformation deepens, you begin to access states of consciousness that were previously unavailable to you. Meditation becomes effortless, intuition becomes razor-sharp, and your connection to the cosmic intelligence becomes as natural as breathing. These developments can only occur in an environment free from the constant energetic interference of unconscious social interaction. The prophecy of your return. This phase of mystical isolation is not your permanent destination, but rather a sacred preparation for a more powerful return to the world. Like a warrior who retreats to the mountains to train in ancient arts before returning to serve their people, you are being prepared for a role that requires skills and wisdom that can only be developed in solitude. When you eventually re-emerge from this cocoon phase, you will do so as a beacon of consciousness, someone capable of maintaining their elevated state while moving through the world with grace and purpose. Your very presence will become a healing force, offering others a glimpse of the peace and wisdom that await them on their own spiritual journey. The relationships you form after this transformation will be fundamentally different from those you knew before. They will be based on authentic connection rather than unconscious need, on mutual growth rather than codependency, on spiritual resonance rather than mere compatibility. These soul-level connections will nourish rather than drain you, supporting your continued evolution while allowing you to support others in their awakening process. Your isolation is teaching you to become self-sustaining in terms of love, wisdom, and spiritual nourishment. This self-sufficiency is not selfishness, but the foundation of true service. Only when you have learned to generate these qualities from within can you share them abundantly with others without depleting yourself in the process. The sacred art of energetic discernment. During this transformative period, you are developing the sacred art of energetic discernment, learning to distinguish between the frequencies that elevate your consciousness and those that diminish it. This skill becomes as essential as breathing, for in a world filled with unconscious energies, your ability to navigate these invisible currents determines the quality of your spiritual experience. You begin to recognize that every person, place, and situation carries a distinct energetic signature that either harmonizes with your evolving consciousness or creates dissonance within your energy field. This recognition is not about judgment, but about compatibility, much like how certain musical notes create harmony, while others create discord when played together. Your growing sensitivity to these energetic signatures explains why certain environments that once felt comfortable now feel overwhelming. The local bar where you used to unwind now pulses with desperation and escapism. The office building where you work feels heavy with stress and unconscious ambition. Even family gatherings can become energetically challenging when they are dominated by gossip, complaints, and unconscious behavioral patterns. This discernment extends to media consumption, entertainment choices, and even the books you read. Your consciousness now gravitates toward content that elevates, inspires, and aligns with the higher frequencies you are cultivating. Violent movies feel like psychic assault. Negative news creates energetic contamination, and superficial entertainment leaves you feeling empty and disconnected from your authentic self. The mysterious language of cosmic communication. As your isolation deepens, you begin to discover that the universe has been attempting to communicate with you all along, but you were previously too distracted by social noise to receive these transmissions. Now, in the sacred silence of solitude, you become fluent in the mysterious language of cosmic communication that speaks through synchronicities, dreams, and intuitive knowing. Numbers begin to carry meaning, appearing in sequences that seem too precise to be coincidental. Animal encounters become messages from spirit guides. Dreams transform into prophetic visions that offer guidance for your earthly journey. Even the patterns in clouds, the way light falls through windows, and the timing of random encounters begin to reveal themselves as part of an intricate communication system operated by cosmic intelligence. This mystical communication system requires silence to be properly received and decoded. The constant chatter of unconscious minds creates interference that blocks these subtle transmissions. Your isolation is providing you with the clear channel necessary to become fluent in this ancient language of spirit, preparing you to serve as a translator for others who have not yet learned to hear these cosmic whispers. The development of this supernatural communication ability often coincides with the emergence of psychic phenomena. You may begin to know things without learning them, sense events before they occur, or receive information through channels that defy rational explanation. These abilities are not supernatural aberrations, but natural capacities that awaken when consciousness expands beyond its ordinary limitations. If these revelations are resonating with the deepest parts of your awakening consciousness, if you recognize yourself in these mystical descriptions of isolation and transformation, then you have found your tribe. Subscribe to the Light of Wisdom and ring that notification bell to ensure you never miss our transmissions from the shadows. We delve into the hidden mysteries that mainstream spirituality fears to explore, offering guidance for those walking the ancient path of solitary awakening. Your subscription helps us continue illuminating these sacred truths for souls brave enough to embrace the darkness before the dawn. The Dark Night's hidden gifts, what mystics throughout the ages have called the dark night of the soul, is actually a phase of intense spiritual acceleration, disguised as apparent abandonment by the divine. During this mysterious period, all external sources of spiritual comfort seem to disappear, leaving you alone with the raw essence of your being. This terrifying and sacred experience strips away all illusions, revealing what remains when everything superficial has been burned away. The Dark Night serves as a cosmic quality control system, ensuring that your spiritual development is authentic rather than dependent on external validation or spiritual materialism. It asks the ultimate question: do you seek awakening for what it can give you? Or are you willing to surrender everything you think you know about yourself to discover what you truly are? During this phase, even your spiritual practices may feel empty or meaningless. Meditation becomes a journey through inner wilderness. Prayer feels like speaking into an infinite void, and the spiritual concepts that once brought comfort now seem like hollow words. This apparent spiritual drought is actually preparing your consciousness to receive direct transmission from Source, unfiltered by concepts, beliefs, or expectations. The gifts hidden within this darkness include the development of unwavering faith, complete surrender to divine will, and the recognition that your true nature is indestructible regardless of external circumstances. You learn to find the divine in the absence of all familiar forms of divinity, discovering that Source consciousness is not something separate from yourself, but the very essence of what you are. The metamorphosis of social connection. As you progress through this mystical journey, your understanding of authentic connection undergoes a profound metamorphosis. You begin to recognize that much of what you previously called friendship was actually unconscious energy exchange, mutual validation, seeking or shared addiction to drama and distraction. True connection, you discover, occurs when two awakened beings meet in the space of authentic presence, sharing their light rather than seeking to fill their emptiness through the other. This realization can be initially devastating as you recognize how many of your previous relationships were based on these unconscious dynamics. The friends who were always available for complaining sessions suddenly feel draining. The family members who bond through shared criticism of others become energetically incompatible with your evolving consciousness. The romantic relationships, built on codependency rather than conscious partnership, reveal their fundamental instability. However, this dissolution of unconscious connections creates space for relationships of unprecedented depth and authenticity. When you eventually encounter others who have undergone similar awakening processes, the connection is immediate and profound. These soul family members recognize you instantly, not through physical familiarity, but through the resonance of awakened consciousness that transcends all surface-level differences. The quality of love you become capable of both giving and receiving transforms completely during this process. Love is no longer conditional upon receiving something in return, but becomes a natural radiation of your awakened heart. You learn to love others regardless of their level of consciousness, while maintaining the wisdom to engage with them in ways that honor both their journey and your own energetic well-being. The cosmic curriculum of solitude. Your isolation serves as enrollment in a cosmic curriculum that cannot be taught through books, workshops, or human teachers. The lessons delivered through this mystical education system are perfectly tailored to your soul's specific needs and evolutionary requirements. Each moment of apparent loneliness is actually a masterclass in self-sufficiency, self-love, and direct connection to Divine Source. The curriculum includes advanced courses in energy management, teaching you how to maintain your vibrational frequency regardless of external circumstances. You learn to generate peace in the midst of chaos, to find joy independent of external conditions, and to access wisdom through direct communion with cosmic intelligence rather than dependence on human authorities. Another crucial component of this education involves learning to distinguish between the voice of your ego and the guidance of your higher self. In the silence of solitude, these different aspects of consciousness become clearly distinguishable. The ego's voice carries anxiety, fear, and the need for external validation, while your higher self communicates through gentle knowing, peaceful certainty, and alignment with divine will. The final examination in this cosmic curriculum involves demonstrating your ability to maintain your awakened state while gradually re-engaging with the world. This is the ultimate test of your spiritual development. Can you remain centered in peace while surrounded by chaos? Can you radiate love while encountering fear? Can you maintain your elevated consciousness while compassionately engaging with those still trapped in unconscious patterns? The sacred return, integration, and service. As this transformative phase reaches its natural completion, you begin to sense a calling to return to the world, but not as the person who originally withdrew from it. You return as an awakened being, someone who has learned to generate light in darkness, to find peace in chaos, and to maintain connection to source consciousness regardless of external circumstances. This return is not a regression, but a graduation, marking your readiness to serve as a bridge between the awakened and unawakened aspects of human consciousness. Your very presence becomes a healing force, offering others a glimpse of the peace and wisdom that await them on their own spiritual journey. You become living proof that transformation is possible, that consciousness can evolve beyond its apparent limitations. The relationships you form during this new phase of your journey will be qualitatively different from anything you experienced before your awakening. They will be based on mutual recognition of divine essence rather than unconscious need fulfillment. These connections will support your continued growth while allowing you to support others in their awakening process, creating a network of conscious beings working together to elevate human consciousness. Your isolation was never about separation, but about preparation. It was the universe's way of preparing you for a form of service that requires you to be spiritually self-sufficient, energetically clear, and cosmically connected. Now, as you prepare to re-engage with the world, you do so not as someone seeking completion through others, but as someone offering completion to others through your awakened presence. Conclusion: the light emerging from shadow. If you find yourself in this mystical phase of isolation, understand that you are not broken, abandoned, or fundamentally flawed. You are undergoing one of the most sacred processes available to human consciousness. The complete transformation of your being from ordinary awareness to awakened presence. This journey requires courage, faith, and the willingness to trust in a process that often defies logical understanding. The shadow of isolation you are experiencing is actually the cosmic womb where your true self is being reborn. Every moment of apparent loneliness is actually deep communion with the infinite intelligence that orchestrates all existence. Every experience of separation is actually preparation for a form of unity that transcends all previous understanding of connection. Remember that this phase is temporary, a sacred pause in the symphony of your existence, while cosmic intelligence fine-tunes your consciousness for the magnificent role you are being prepared to play. Trust the process, embrace the mystery, and know that your apparent isolation is actually the universe's way of preparing you to become a light that shines so brightly it illuminates the path for others who are ready to begin their own journey, home to awakened consciousness. The light of wisdom that emerges from this transformative darkness will serve not only your own evolution, but the awakening of all humanity. Your willingness to undergo this mysterious process contributes to the collective elevation of consciousness that our planet desperately needs in these times of unprecedented change and spiritual opportunity. If this transmission has reached your soul at exactly the moment you needed to hear it, know that this is no coincidence. The universe guided you here for a reason. Subscribe to the Light of Wisdom to continue receiving these mystical insights that illuminate the hidden path of spiritual transformation. Share this video with another awakening soul who needs to understand that their isolation is not abandonment, but preparation. Leave a comment sharing your own experiences with this sacred solitude, as your words may become the beacon that guides another seeker through their own dark night of the soul. Until we meet again in the shadows where truth dwells, remember that you are never truly alone.